Chosen ones, awaken your soul. The greatest tragedy is not the loss of intelligence, but the failure to recognize its power. You were never meant to blend in. Your mind works at a speed that others struggle to keep up with. Your thoughts connect dots that remain invisible to most, and small talk feels like a cage too tight for your expanding universe. Science confirms what you've always felt. Only 2.5% of people possess an IQ above 130. You are part of a rare force, a select group of minds that perceive the world beyond the ordinary. But with this gift comes a weight few can comprehend. It is both your advantage and your burden, your weapon and your test. They may not have understood you before, but now they have no choice. The monument stands tall in your name. The same world that questioned you now honors your existence. Intelligence is more than facts and figures. It is a force that shapes reality itself. And you, chosen one, are the architect of the future. First of all, the selected one is often the most alone. Being selected may seem like a luxury, but in practice, it's often a lonely path. Being very intelligent distinguishes you, not just in skill, but also in experience. The majority of individuals live their lives according to a common mental model, which includes comparable ideas, routine dialogue, and well-known objectives. However, you soon come to the disturbing realization that very few people really understand you when your mind is functioning on a different frequency. It seems to be a minor problem at first. You provide insights that others miss. You plan ahead a little. You pick up on inconsistencies in discussions that others overlook. But as time goes on, it becomes evident that others often dislike the idea that you keep up, rather than just failing to do so. Instead of facilitating relationships, the same intellect that should do so causes alienation. Your mind naturally delves further, making conversations seem superficial, filtering, simplifying, and holding back in order to keep the conversation going makes social encounters tiresome. It's survival, not arrogance. Most people wouldn't know how to react if you were free to express your opinions. This seclusion is emotional as well as intellectual. Mutual blind spots, misunderstandings, and hardships are what bind people together. However, you live outside of that common experience when you anticipate behaviors that others are unaware of, when you recognize issues before they arise, and when you know others better than they know themselves. It doesn't get any easier, even when you succeed. The disparity becomes bigger the more you achieve. Intelligence is valued by society, but only if it is presented in a manner that isn't too intimidating. How about you? You're overly passionate. You feel as if you are violating your own nature if you play it down. The paradox is that although intellect should lead to clarity, it often results in isolation. Not because you want to be by yourself, but rather because few others can move at the same pace as you. Second, having a high IQ has drawbacks. Though few discuss the hidden cost, high intellect is often seen as a benefit. It not only clarifies life, but also adds weight to it. You see through the world when your mind is processing things at a higher level. You can't unsee it after you've done so. Simple explanations can get the ordinary individual through life. They take solace in routine, accept customs, and trust what they are taught. However, a high IQ eliminates such delusions. You begin asking queries that others would never consider. You see that systems that people blindly trust have weaknesses. You come to see that a large portion of what people refer to as fact is only a convenient story. This insight is draining rather than uplifting. This explains why existential dread affects a lot of really smart individuals. In addition to fixing problems, you're always examining the underlying causes of those issues, and the solutions aren't always pleasant. Where others see leadership, you perceive corruption. Where others see marketing, you see deception. You see human nature. Not the idealized version that individuals put on, but the unvarnished, self-centered, and sometimes disheartening truth. You're trapped with knowing too much, while others find solace in ignorance. At this point, intellect turns into a liability. Emotions cannot be avoided, even if they can be explained. Even when the logical course of action is obvious, it is not always simple to follow. The saddest part is that having a thorough grasp of life doesn't make it any less terrible. If anything, it exacerbates the situation because you are aware of the specific causes of most problems, yet unable to address them. Individuals frequently believe that brilliance leads to happiness, but in fact, the brightest individuals suffer the most, not because they are unable, but rather because they see life as it is, rather than how they would want it to be. The curse of perception is number 3. Having a high IQ alters your perspective on the world, in addition to making you smarter. It improves your perception by bringing to light hidden facts, reasons, and patterns that most people miss. The issue is that individuals dislike having their illusions dispelled. The typical individual goes through life taking everything at face value. They seldom challenge the underlying mechanisms behind human behavior, have faith in authority, and adhere to societal standards. However, you begin to realize the unpleasant truths people don't want to confront when your intellect enables you to see beyond appearances. Even when someone is lying to themselves, you can tell. You see inconsistencies in their ideas, errors in their reasoning, and the emotional biases influencing their choices. You see how society regulates conduct via unwritten laws, how individuals subtly influence discussions, and how much human connection is motivated by self-interest rather than honesty. This degree of awareness is a burden rather than a blessing, because people resist when you attempt to express what you observe, not because you're incorrect, but because they don't want to know. They get defensive, contemptuous, and even irate. They would prefer to continue holding on to handy half-truths, reassuring stories, and straightforward explanations. And you become the issue when you interfere with it. People want their version of the reality, the one that allows them to sleep at night, blend in with the crowd, and escape painful realizations. They don't want the truth. When you question it, people respond with passion rather than reason. Because it's simpler than confronting what you're pointing out. They label you as cynical, conceited, or thinking too much. You eventually come to the realization that most people aren't prepared to perceive the world as it really is, which makes you learn to keep your insights to yourself, not because you disbelieve them. Not only does intelligence provide information, but it also thrusts you into a world where clarity is expensive and truth is a lonely place. Fourth, even the brightest brains find simplicity difficult. Deep thinking is ingrained in brilliant brains. They like tackling complicated challenges and are drawn to intricacy and hidden levels. However, the incapacity to fully appreciate life's little joys is a price paid for this continual desire for cerebral stimulation. The familiar, casual discussions, dependable habits, and simple entertainment is where most people find satisfaction. However, same things may be excruciatingly boring to a highly clever individual. The absence of content in small chat makes it intolerable. It seems like a waste of time to do repetitive jobs, because the mind is always looking for more and won't stop. Even relaxing may be stressful. This explains why boredom is a problem for many highly brilliant individuals. Because their minds are designed to analyze, dissect, and improve, they are unable to just relax and enjoy the present. A basic film is a pattern of narrative devices rather than just a film. A casual conversation is a study of human psychology, not merely a discussion. A quiet stroll might quickly devolve into an internal argument about philosophy, science, or life's purpose. It is challenging to integrate into society because of this restlessness. For someone whose mind is always searching for something more profound, things that others find fulfilling, mindless entertainment, shallow friendships, and steady professional paths can seem stifling. Their brain prevents them from enjoying the little things, not because they don't want to. This results in separation at worst. The most intelligent individuals often have relationship problems, not because they don't care, but rather because they yearn for a remarkable depth of thought and feeling. They could come out as aloof or uninterested, but in truth, they're only looking for something that most people can't provide: actual mental interaction. The capacity to comprehend everything but how to be content with less is the conundrum of intelligence. Fifth, intellect is meaningless without a plan. Being intelligent is insufficient. The world is designed to reward strategy rather than intellect. While people with ordinary intelligence but keen intuition established empires, history is replete with geniuses who perished, impoverished, unheard, or in obscurity. Potential is what raw intellect is. Strategy is what makes it powerful. You can digest information more quickly, see patterns, and solve issues that others can't if you have a high IQ. However, without a strategy or guidance, it's merely a dazzling but ultimately pointless internal fireworks display. The people who know how to use the system are in charge of the corporate world, not the most intelligent workers. The people who understand influence rule politics, not the most profound philosophers. Even in social dynamics, your status is determined by how you use your intellect. Intelligence by itself won't get you respect. The unpleasant reality is that without a plan, intellect might even be a liability. Indecision is the result of overanalyzing. When you see every conceivable scenario, you may be reluctant to take action. When you look too far ahead, you risk alienating those who lack perspective. A highly strategic but less clever individual moves in the meanwhile. They take chances. They create networks. They are aware of time. Despite not always having the best ideas, the most successful people in the world are masters of implementation. They are aware of the appropriate times to talk, remain quiet, adjust, and attack. They have more than simply ideas. They know how to market them, put them into practice, and inspire others to believe in them. Without a plan, intelligence is like a fast, aimless sports vehicle without a steering wheel. The individuals who know how to employ intelligent people are the real world leaders, not necessarily the brightest ones. Number 6. Adaptability, not brilliance, is the key to success. It takes more than just intelligence to succeed. The individual who can adapt, plan, and carry out is rewarded by the world, not the brightest person in the room. There are many bright minds throughout history who never realized their full potential, not because they were ignorant, but rather because they were unable to deal with reality. A brilliant person who is unable to adapt to their surroundings is like an antiquated machine, strong but ineffective. Those who adhere to rigid intelligence without adaptability are left behind as the world evolves all the time. Even if you are the smartest person in your profession, your brilliance is meaningless if you are unable to deal with ambiguity, collaborate with people of diverse personalities, or overcome unforeseen challenges. In actuality, those who are successful do it because they are able to read the room, change tactics, and play the long game, not because they are intelligent. Raw intelligence is often less important than emotional intelligence. Being the most intelligent person in a discussion won't get you far if you don't know how to connect with people, influence choices, and manage relationships. Examine the most influential people in the globe, such as CEOs, legislators, and inventors. Although they are the most adaptive, the majority are not the smartest in their fields. They know when to change course, when to abandon outdated notions, and when to modify their strategy to fit the circumstances. Many really clever individuals, on the other hand, get paralyzed by analysis, striving for perfection or unwilling to make concessions, which eventually loses them chances. Success is more about your ability to move than your level of knowledge. Although intelligence is a tool, the capacity to adapt is what makes or breaks whether that tool is ever used. Ultimately, brilliance is nothing if it cannot endure in the actual world. Seventh, until you demonstrate your uniqueness, you are not. Being intelligent, gifted, or even selected is nothing unless you put it to use. There are many bright brains in the world that never achieved anything. Individuals with enormous promise who sank into obscurity because they believed that potential was sufficient. It isn't. Like a loaded weapon, intelligence is potent but worthless unless you know how to aim and fire. Although many people make the mistake of believing that their natural skill makes them unique, people like the concept of being extraordinary. It doesn't. It is executed. People are rewarded for what they accomplish, not for what they might have done. The unsettling reality is that there is always someone who is equally intelligent, as talented, and equally prepared to work hard. While others pause, without action, preparation, analysis, and thought are pointless. The difference between a genius who never uses their intellect and someone who has none at all is the same. Never leaving your head ideas perish there. Greatness is not immediately recognized by the world. Rather, it acknowledges outcomes. If your mind never creates, solves, or impacts anything, no one will care how intelligent you are. Discipline, consistency, and execution are more important for success than intellect alone. You are just as unique as what you do. You are not unique because of what you may be. Eighth, it's all right that most people will never understand you. Being extremely brilliant means having a unique perspective on the world, one that most people can never truly comprehend. This may be annoying at first. You explain concepts, yet they are rejected. Though they go over people's heads, you impart insights. While others are still at step one, you see patterns emerging. You eventually come to the crucial realization that it is pointless to look for approval from those who are not as intelligent as you. The innate tendency is to put forth more effort, to simplify your ideas, to make yourself more approachable, to condense your thoughts to suit the space. However, doing so limits you in addition to diluting your intellect. The truth is that you are not designed to be understood by everyone, and that is an asset rather than a weakness. Sometimes standing out means standing by yourself. The majority of people think in known, comfortable ways, yet you see perspectives they don't. This is not a weakness. Rather, it is what enables you to lead, create, and alter the game rather than just play it. Because they looked beyond the box, the greatest brains in history, from visionaries to inventors, were misinterpreted in their own time. The secret is to change your perspective. Accept the reality that you think differently, rather than becoming frustrated. Instead, aim for impact rather than approval. The proper people will see your worth when they push, encourage, and uplift you. The others? You don't need their comprehension to succeed. It's like trying to squeeze a square peg into a round hole when you strive to be understood by everyone. You weren't supposed to fit in. Give up seeking approval and take use of your ability to notice things that others cannot. The ninth is that you are your own worst adversary. Though strong, a clever mind may turn against itself if it is not controlled. Being intelligent has two sides and is not only a gift. You recognize every potential issue because of the same skill that enables you to identify solutions before others do. The same quick thinking that makes you successful may also lead to constant overthinking, insecurity, and reluctance. Second-guessing oneself is easier if you're smarter. You rethink, not simply think. Every action is evaluated against a dozen possible outcomes, turning every choice into a labyrinth of what-ifs. While others confidently go, you pause, trapped between options, attempting to figure out the best course of action. However, there is no such thing as perfection, and the more you wait for it, the more possibilities you miss. Not only is overthinking draining, but it may also paralyze you. You examine your own ideas so thoroughly that you begin to doubt your own judgment, skills, and value. Your brilliance makes you hyper-aware of defects, so you notice them in everything you do. This explains why self-doubt plagues some of the brightest minds. They lack assurance rather than talent. The inner critic comes next. It becomes harsher the more intelligent you are. You are more aware of your own shortcomings than you are of those of others. The weight of your own expectations is too great for any outside pressure. You hold yourself to a higher standard, and it feels like failure when you even marginally fail. Ironically, you are the one thing preventing yourself from moving forward. It's the never-ending battle inside your own head, not a lack of intellect, other people, or situations. Learning to trust oneself, act decisively, and hush the overthinking that keeps you trapped is the biggest obstacle for someone with a superior intellect, not competition. The 10th is that the system was not designed with you in mind. Society was created to work well for the vast majority of people, not for the very smart. Social systems, organizations, and educational institutions value conformity over creativity and predictability over creativity. You will sense this conflict everywhere if you are highly bright. Those who follow the script are rewarded by the system, not those who challenge it. Intelligence should be a benefit in the classroom, but this is not always the case. Standardized education emphasizes memorization, compliance, and conformity above critical thinking. You become an issue if you confront faulty reasoning, look too far ahead, or learn in a new way. Because they don't fit the strict framework created for the average, the smarter pupils often feel constrained, not because they lack ability. The trend persists in the workplace. Efficiency is more important to organizations than creativity. In theory, innovation is hailed, but in reality, it is opposed. Groupthink, regularity, and hierarchy are the foundations of the business world. You become an anomaly if you challenge ineffective processes, point out inconsistencies, or refuse to participate in office politics. Success is dependent on knowing how to use the system, not just intelligence. Socially, it's the same. The majority of individuals feel at ease with superficial exchanges and light chat. You may feel alienated if your mind functions on a deeper level. What excites you in conversation may boring others. They may be intimidated or confused by subjects that seem clear to you. You often encounter defensiveness or rejection in place of inquiry. You may either disrupt or comply as a result. Either you violate the rules and forge your own route, or you learn to fit in by playing by rules that weren't intended for you. The system was designed for stability, not for genius. You need to be strategic, persistent, and ready to question systems that weren't made for someone with your kind of brain if you want to succeed. 11th, wisdom cannot be replaced by intellect. Wisdom and intelligence are not synonymous. You can solve complicated equations, see patterns, and process information more quickly than other people if you have a high IQ. However, intelligence by itself does not ensure sound judgment. Not because they were not intelligent, but rather because they lacked the discernment to utilize their knowledge appropriately. Some of the most brilliant persons in history have made disastrous errors. The speed at which you think is measured by your IQ, but how you use those ideas is determined by your wisdom. Though wisdom informs you when overanalyzing is a trap, a high IQ enables you to examine issues from all sides. While intelligence allows you to envision 100 different outcomes, wisdom enables you to know when action is necessary, even in the absence of certainty. Experience makes a difference. Wisdom is acquired. Intelligence is inherent. Even if you read every book in existence, you won't really get the significance of making decisions until you've experienced failure, uncertainty, and real-world repercussions. Knowing the facts is simple. What distinguishes the genuinely great from the clever is knowing when to act, when to wait, and when to give up. History repeatedly demonstrates this. Many brilliant people have ruined their own life due to conceit, impatience, or a lack of self-control. Others have devoted their whole lives to introspection, generating nothing worthwhile. Conversely, they are often outperformed by people who possess a good sense of time, patience, and flexibility, but lack sheer intellect. What transforms intellect into strength is wisdom. It instills the capacity to accept what cannot be altered, exercise restraint when necessary, and make decisions when necessary. The people who know when to think, when to act, and when to let go are in charge of the world, not the brightest people. This is only the beginning if this struck a chord with you, if you have a different perspective on the world, and you don't want to squander your brains. Join the group of people who appreciate strategy, depth, and actual power by subscribing to the channel. If this made you think differently, hit the like button. The brightest brains interact with knowledge rather than only consuming it, so share your ideas in the comments section below. Additionally, as genuine information is supposed to have an effect rather than be hoarded, please share this with everyone you know who needs to hear it. This is a place for those that don't want to be normal, not simply another channel. I'll see you in the next one, so keep ahead of the game and remain sharp.